to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up. All right, what's happening? What's happening, everybody? It is Friday, May 22nd, 2020, and we have officially arrived at the 150th episode of this little show we got going on here called Morning Perspective. It is hard to believe, man, that I clicked that go live button for the 150th time this morning. As you can already see, I have a very special guest with us this morning. Many of you probably already know this guy, I'm sure. And if you do, you'll probably have heard the words that I'm about to use here. But he is a husband to one, a father to seven, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. Hashtag Rise and Grind. Mr. Glenn Lundy, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks, my man. Happy to be here. I appreciate that that intro. Isn't that crazy? Like, I just said that one day, and now here it is. You know, back then though, it was like husband to one, father to 4 or 5 or something like that. You know, now it's father to 7. It just keeps going. So it's cool. Every time I hear that, it just takes me back to just the first time I ever kind of said that, and now it's been said thousands of times. So I appreciate that.
Just keeps going, man. Just keeps going. And it is branding at its finest. I forgot until I called you the other day that it's actually even on your voicemail, man.
Oh yeah.
That is branding at its finest. You guys are in for a treat this morning because as I was telling Glenn before we just got on here, #1 thing you guys should know is that I'm going to tell you this story, but this guy is responsible for really pushing me over the edge to do this show. And I'll get into the details of that. But, man, I just want to start by telling you how grateful I am for you doing that for me and also for the other people that participate in this show and the impacts that those people make, and the ripple effect of that is tremendous. So I will start with, man, I'm just crazy grateful that I spent that morning with you last July and got started with this.
I'm so thankful you did too, dude. That was a freaking awesome show, and the relationship that's developed since then has been incredible, which I really appreciate. I'm trying to share this out. Is it on your normal page?
On my public page. I just shared it to my regular page, so you should be able to find it there.
Okay, I was like, why can't I find this? Because I want to share my boy out. There you are. I see you.
So, #1, I'll say good morning to some folks while you are doing that. Jeff Baker, what's happening, man? Eli, good morning. My wife's son here. Justin Myers. Trisha, good morning. Jared, Andrew, Justin, Bob, Clayton, Mark, Tammy, Keith. Man, we got people, dude, that roll on the West Coast with me here at 7:30 a.m. So those are early risers, 4:30 a.m. on the West Coast. So let me just say this, one of the things that I am always working on, and one of the reasons that I was motivated by Glenn to do this show, it came down to one thing, and it's something that I'm always working on to keep as the foundation in every aspect of my life, is to make sure that the people that I'm interacting with and surrounding myself with share the same values at their core. And, when I spent some time with Glenn and we got to talking on his show and he was asking me a lot of questions, it was just very apparent that we had the same exact mission and values. And, he was somebody that I could look to for advice and guidance along the way. So I want to tell you guys a little story here. So being on Glenn's show, I was on there July 12th of 2019. Okay. And I did the very first episode of this show on July 24th. So just in case you thought I was full of crap, I'm not full of crap. That is legit. Okay, so here's what happened from then. The following Monday, July 22nd, Ed Milet had written a post about his grandmother and how much of an impact his grandmother had on his life and how she saved him in the darkest moments and how she always believed in him no matter what. And that post actually made me do a live video that was titled "Be That Person for Other People." And so the second part of that video, which I've never really told anybody, is like your show and you were the first part of that. Ed Milet telling his story was the second part of that. And then literally 2 days later was episode 1 of this show.
Nice.
And the reason for that is, man, is that, you know, my grandmother played such a huge role in my life and just believing in me. And no matter what, man, no matter how tough times ever got. And, you know, that really inspired me. And being on your show and seeing the number of people that were up at 5:30 in the morning. And literally, this is how my thinking went. I said, man, Glenn is crushing it at 5:30 a.m. There got to be a bunch of people that don't want to wake up at 5:30 that'll join at 7:30, right?
Sure.
We can impact more people and we can touch more lives. And maybe, as the title of that first video I did, maybe I could be that person for other people like you are to your audience. And,
right.
you know, what I believe, man, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is that I think people, you know, adults have less than 5 people that literally are that person for them, that believe in them no matter what. And so I want to talk to you about who that person was for you and what they did for your life by being that person that always believed in you.
Yeah, sure, man. I'm glad that you were inspired, and I am thankful that you know, that you're following up at 7:30. You know, originally when we started #RiseAndGrind, part of the reason was there's just so much negativity in the feeds, and I'm like, man, dude, instead of complaining about it, let's do something about it, right? So we created this space with motivation, education, and inspiration. And really, it was only 5:30 in the morning because I have so many kids. And that was like the only time that I knew I could show up every single day and be consistent. And so I'll trade you time slots one day.
There's got to be at least 2 days a week that you're like, man, I should have taken 7:30.
My wife teases all the time. She says I'm like the only self-employed entrepreneur in the world that has to wake up and be somewhere at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Every single day. She's like, you could have picked any time. You picked 5:30 a.m. But it was about consistency and being able to show up no matter what, right? People being able to rely on you, people being able to count on you. And these are things that I've learned from my mentors, watching Josh Cummins, the owner of Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick, working side by side with him for 8 years. He helped cultivate and instill in me the importance of people being able to predict almost and know for certain that you're going to be there for them when they need you, right? Not when it's convenient for you, but when they need you. And when people have that trust factor and know that they can count on you, even if they don't have to utilize it, even if they don't need to lean on you, just knowing that you're always going to be there for them no matter what, helps elevate you as far as the respect that people have for you, the willingness to do business with you, the willingness to share ideas and strategies. All of those things come from that trust factor. So Josh Cummins was a tremendously important person in my life as a mentor. I've had a few. What I noticed though, Brian, that's really interesting, and I think a lot of people need to hear this, as you change, your seasons change, and the people that need to be in that 5 change. It changes. And a lot of people have a hard time with that because they develop a relationship and then they don't want to let it go. But not all relationships, actually most, 95% of your relationships are not meant to carry you through your entire life. They're there to foundationally get you to that next space. And then you got to make sure you're the smallest fish in the pond again and reach up. Right? And reach up till you get to another level and consistently do that. So, you know, when I look at my circle right now, the circle around me that's influencing me right now, that circle of people, it's not the same people that it was 2 years ago when I started the show. You know, it's a completely different group. So, but man, it's important. I'll tell you that. Having those people around you is incredibly important.
No doubt. Was there anybody when you were a little boy, or maybe as you were in your teenage years facing some challenges that kind of was that guiding light for you?
No, man. Regretfully not. That's why I got in so much trouble when I was a kid. I was hanging out with hood rats and hooligans, and the people that I looked up to were people that should not have been looked up to and influenced me in a lot of ways. Of course, my mom was always solid. She was always the one who she saw things in me that I didn't see. She saw things in me that other people didn't see. My mom, and there were many occasions where I embarrassed my mom with my actions. And so she would have to go out in public and people would publicly know that I was a menace. And it was very embarrassing for her, but she never backed down. Like she never joined in the party. You know what I mean? Like to bash her son. She always stood for me, always fought for me, even when I wasn't worth fighting for. And so my mom's definitely always been a light, through all of my different seasons.
Now you're just a menace for success, man.
I'm trying, man.
For success. So let me ask you this, man. So waking up at 5:30 a.m., because this is one of the things that I think, there's not many people that do this, right? There's not a whole lot. We tend to have a decent number of friends that do this.
Sure.
But I think for a lot of people, and I was talking to Bruce Pulver, who was on here this morning.
Yeah.
He said good morning to us. I was talking to him last night, and he was just expressing his gratitude for what you do and for what I do. And what I said to him was this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. I said, man, I don't think you have any idea what it does for me, and I think I speak for you, what it does for us to do this, to literally start your morning with this routine and be responsible to craft the message that you deliver every day, to feel that responsibility, to have those people that start watching and feeling that connection. So I want to get your thoughts on, what that does for you. How does it make you feel? And man, you're on like episode 619, was it this morning?
619 this morning, yeah.
619 this morning. So this guy's been at it for a long time, folks. And you have 30,107 this morning when I looked in the hashtag Rise and Grind group. So I want to get your thoughts on, number one, what the morning show does for you personally, how that kind of plays into your success, and then secondly, the rest of that. So go for it.
Well, accountability is such a tremendous factor in holding discipline and creating success. You have to have people in your life that are going to hold you accountable. I happen to have 30,000 of them that are going to hold me accountable to showing up every single day. So the accountability side has been a huge I didn't think originally. I didn't think about the accountability factor that would come with it. That wasn't an aspect. And so you start to make, when you have a show at 5:30 a.m., which I wake up at 3:50 a.m. so that I can practice, my morning routine things before I do the show. So I wake up at 3:50, do all of my stuff, then I craft the show, then I deliver the show at 5:30. So I have to make better decisions the night before. Before I didn't have to do that. So I have to be very consistent and disciplined in my decisions, the night prior, not to have a drink, not to stay up late, so on and so forth. And so the show has helped adapt and evolve me into a better version of me, simply with those decisions and the accountability. The coolest part, though, about the entire going live thing, the coolest part about doing a show every single day is I've created these habits that I've now become, I've literally become an expert in just a few years, and I'm still working, but I've become an expert. Like I can write a 30-minute freaking script like nobody's business, bro. Like I can write it, I can do it, I know exactly, I can deliver it, I can do it off the cuff. Somebody's like, Glenn, give me a 30-minute meeting. I'm like, boom, give me 5 minutes, done. And I can deliver it, right? I've got that skill. But the coolest thing, Brian, and I think you've seen this, the coolest thing about Facebook Live, and you'll see people do it, right? When somebody goes live and they're like this, right? Like you guys can see that, right? Like they got their phone and they're looking, like, what does it look like? What does it remind you of? When you see somebody doing that, what does that remind you of? That posture, that position. Does it remind you of like a woman with a compact fixing her makeup, right? That's exactly what it looks like, right? When you go live every single day, guess who you have to have a conversation with? Your freaking self, dude. And every word that comes out of your mouth, you see it, right? Like you visibly see yourself. And so what's happened to me is I am now so conscious of the words that come out of my mouth and make sure that they match up with my actions, that what I speak is how I live, that I walk the walk and talk the talk, because every single day I have to look at myself in the mirror and say, are you being true to yourself? And that's what I think is the biggest gift of this whole Facebook Live, you know, the show, the consistency, all of that is it's helped me become, it's literally helped me become a better person, because I have to face myself every single day. I can't hide.
Dude, it's so crazy because I have had that same thought in a different sense. You describe it with an analogy that's really good, but I have thought about this because, you know, there's people out there that will try to shoot holes in every single thing that you do, right? And so when you first start doing these live streams, that is, I don't know how you felt, but like that is what I felt. It was like, am I going to say something that you know doesn't align? Basically, is what I was thinking. You know, that I'm off, or I do something in my life that doesn't line up with that. And, you know, it is amazing the behaviors that you train yourself to have as a result of this. Number one, somebody just said it in the comments, but it creates discipline. It creates consistency. And one of the other things that Ed Milet says all the time is that keeping promises to yourself is one of the most powerful ways to increase your self-confidence, your self-worth, and your ability to go do bigger things in life. And I think that, you know, when you do this every single day, and again, I'll go back and say thank you to you, because I would have never been crazy enough to agree to do this 5 days a week if somebody else wasn't already doing it. That's probably the truth. I'm not sure that I would have been crazy enough, but I'm like, man, Glenn does it. I only got to be on here at 7:30. 2 extra hours, man. It can't be that bad.
Right.
But it's challenging, you know, right? I mean, there's plenty of mornings, man, where you're like, you got so much going on and you're trying to figure out what to do. And, you know, here comes 7:30. And I've sat down here at 7:15 and had to write out 20, 30 minutes worth of, you know, information to share with people. And I want to ask you this. So what is the best story, you know, because you've impacted thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of lives doing 619 shows. Give me 1 or 2 of the best stories that you can recall of that people have reached out to you and told you about what you did.
Well, there's multiple, man. I'm all about, like, when it comes to Rise and Grind, Glenn Lundy with a microphone and a camera in a utility closet, which is where I started. That dude really can't do, like, that dude, without the audience, there is no show. Without the group, there is no impact. Without the people showing up and hitting the share buttons and dropping in the comments, I don't show up, right? Without them holding me accountable. So it's hard for me to take credit, you know, really for anything, because it's really about the people on the other side. Otherwise, they throw me in a loony bin, right? Like if I just went into a closet and talked to myself for 30 minutes every day, they freaking have me in freaking a straitjacket. But luckily, there's people on the other side. So when you say that, the first thing I think about is the offline stuff that my group has been able to do since we started the show. Like, for example, you were a part of the Rescuing Global Facebook Live-a-thon, where we raised $120,000 in 24 hours with members of the Rise and Grind group. That money ultimately being multiplied by 4 for this organization, dude. 400 grand in 24 hours. That was one of the most special things that we've done. Some of the events where people have gotten together and developed not just relationships, but like lifelong best friends, like the Twang sisters, which is 4 women in Paris, Kentucky, that have come together in a really unique and special way. My guy, Josh O, who's been watching my show for the last 2 years, he just moved to Virginia to be a part of the Carter Myers Automotive Organization, which is ran by Liza and Scott Simons, which are members of the hashtag Rise and Grind group. So watching those connections, you know, seeing my people moving offline, helping Derek McLean and his family while his wife was battling cancer, helping Michelle Matsuri. We raised $40,000 for her in 24 hours when she was battling cancer. Blessing backpacks, where we gave out 750 backpacks filled with food and different items to kids and homeless people and old folks as well. Things like that. That's where I go first, right? Because I just love how powerful humans are when they can come together on mission. It's amazing what we can accomplish. So I go there first, but there is one other individual story where a gentleman messaged me and informed me that he was sitting in the car with a gun, gonna kill himself, went onto Facebook. This was he was on the West Coast, so 3 hours behind. So it was 2:30 in the morning his time. He went onto Facebook to leave his goodbye letter, right? Like his suicide note. He was gonna post it on Facebook and kill himself. And when he popped onto Facebook to do the suicide note, I popped up into his feed with the show. He clicked on it, and I said good morning to him. I said his name on the show. And he said when he heard his name, it reminded him that he's not invisible. Somebody does see him. He does have value. He does have worth. He said he wept through the whole show, especially when I reminded him he was a child of God. And he went back home to his family. He's gone back to his life. The suicidal tendencies are gone. And it was all because that one stinking moment where God put him right there and allowed my voice to say his name and make an impact in his life. That's probably one of my favorite stories since we started the group. It's been incredible.
So you want to hear some craziness? I have the exact same story. The only difference is this person does watch the show, but I sent him at the same moment. I sent him in Facebook Messenger because I knew he was going through a challenging time. Your buddy Eric Thomas's video, You Matter.
Nice.
Watch that video. So that's, again, you know, why do you do this? That, like, do you need anything more?
Right.
For the next 10,000 mornings, right?
That's right.
Have the ability to have that type of impact and that just relationship with people, you know. And what is wild, man,
crazy
things that you just said that I want to unpack there, but what is wild is that all of this is done over technology, right? And you know, most of the people that are probably in your group, there's a whole bunch. I can't imagine that you've met all 30,106 in person. And so the relationships that we're able to build in this day and age through these types of platforms are just incredible. You know, like there are people on this stream, like Judge Graham is on here. Jeff Nelson is on here. There's a lot of people that I have yet to meet in person that I feel like I know. Right? Like when I do meet them in person, it'll be nice and easy, quick. Like, hey man, how you doing? Like we've known each other forever. And it is just such a cool thing to be able to sit here and share this with people. And man, I appreciate you sharing that story. And I had a feeling when I was telling you before the show started, I said, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of things that we have in common. Yeah. That was one of them. I was thinking, I bet you have the same story.
Yeah.
So I want to get into the other part, because the other thing that I owe you some gratitude for is that, you know, I've always been on a journey to explore a deeper sense of spirituality. And that day last year on July 12th, when I did your show, also pushed me in a direction to serve more in that aspect. And so now I'm on the board of youth ministry at my church. I think I shared that with you before. But I want to talk about the Grow for God conference because that was something that you put on that I can't imagine when you started doing hashtag Rise and Grind that you thought, like, it was going to turn into all that. That was quite a spectacle that happened down there in Tennessee, man. And there was so much that went into that. But I want to talk to you about, the people that were there, the speakers that came to that event, what that meant to you to have those people, and then, what do you plan on doing with that in the future?
So grow your business for God's sake. So we've had a couple offline events, right? We had the hashtag Rise and Grind summer event in Paris, Kentucky. That was the first time we kind of pulled together some speakers and some entertainers, and like what you were talking about as far as knowing people online, but meeting them for the first time. The hashtag Rise and Grind summer event was the first one of those. And I love that, man. Since I was a kid, I'm the guy that likes to throw parties. I like to bring people together. That's my gift. And so we did that summer event. Then we had Hustle and Grind Con, which was the same experience. Like, you're like, I know you, but I don't know you, but I know you, right? Which was super cool. We all stayed in these big McMansions together. It was amazing. And then one day, my wife, I had just left my job at Dan Cummins. I had just left my job. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I got a contract with a literary agent to do a book, and I was like, okay. My wife was getting ready to take a nap, and I was like, all right, I'm going to send my literary agent over some stuff. And I popped up my computer, and I went to start like sending her stuff. And for some reason, dude, I just like typed out, grow your business for God's sake. And I was like, what the heck is that? Because that sounds really cool, right? I was like, I'm just going to kind of flow with that. So I let it flow. And 2.5 hours later, I had completely outlined a 16-chapter book called Grow Your Business for God's Sake. I put together an entire book proposal in 2.5 hours. And it just was like a download, bro. And so my wife comes out of the room, she gets done with her nap. I'm like, hey, honey, look at this. And I show her the thing. And she's like, let me get this straight. I just took a nap and you just wrote a book. I'm like, something like that. And so it just kind of came, and it was crazy. I had Steve Brewster on my show a couple days later as a guest. Steve Brewster is the owner of Wholesale Inc. It's a nationally, a publicly traded company that wholesales cars all across America. They're the #1 wholesaler in America, at least, if not the world. And he was on my show. And when he was on my show, this guy named Galen Davis, who's the head pastor at Cornerstone Christian Church, is friends with Steve and was watching Steve on the show. So then Galen reaches out to me. He's like, Glenn, I love your energy. I love your vibe. I love that you're a Christian. I love that you love God and you're a businessman. He said it's a rare mixing, and I'd love to explore this a little bit more. So he brings me down for lunch. And as we're sitting at lunch, he says, Glenn, here's what I think. There's a bunch of business people that maybe love God, but they're not necessarily comfortable talking about it in church. But I feel like we're not serving our business people. But really, it's important that these leaders build their businesses on biblical principles and foundations so they can go out and make an impact in other people's lives. That whole conversation. He's like, what do you think we could do? And I looked at him, Brian. I'm like, I think we should have an event. And we should call it Grow Your Business for God's sake. And he was like, yes, that's it. And all of a sudden, this pastor of a mega church gives me his facility completely free. No, nothing. He gives me his staff. He gives me his facility. He's like, it's all yours. You do what you think we need to do. Let's roll with it. And 2 months later, we had the Grow Your Business for God's Sake event, August 16th of last year. Close to, it was right around 300 people that came together, and the speakers that shared the stage were so excited because they had finally found a stage where they could talk about God and business in the same sentence comfortably. And so it was an experience for the speakers. It was an experience for me. It was our first experience, like, since I had left my cushy, comfortable job at the dealership. It was the first thing kind of my family really did together. My kids were involved. My daughter got baptized. My son sang on the stage. It was incredible, man. It was incredible. And as far as the future, I'm glad that you asked about it. because no one knows this yet. So we'll release it right here on your show, exclusive, August 14th. We are going to have the second Grow Your Business for God's Sake event. However, it is going to be virtual. It is not going to be in a church. It is going to be virtual, and we are going to have some of the biggest leaders from the biggest churches in the United States of America are all going to share messages from their individual stages at their individual churches all across America. It's going to be freaky awesome, dude.
That's incredible. That is incredible. That is incredible. I am actually today it starts. I think it's starting right now. I'm doing a virtual mastermind, if you will, with Mark Victor Hansen is running it. So the guy that wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah, nice.
So he's got a bunch of speakers. John Maxwell, one of them. So
right.
These online events, man, they're kicking it now, man, and they people are all about it. They don't have to travel. It's efficient.
That's right.
You know, it's less expensive. All those things are great. So, man, I look forward to that. And you know this, but I will remind you if there's anything that I could ever do to repay you for what you've done for me, I am always there to support you in any way, shape, or form. So you let me know what it takes, and we'll go from there. Is there a way for people to support Rise and Grind, whether it be through donations? Obviously, they can join the group, but is there a way for people to financially support what you do?
Yeah, so what we're doing right now, actually, when you go to my page, Official Glenn Lundy, if you go to my page on any of my videos, you can now do something on Facebook called stars. You can donate stars. And those stars, what we're doing with that is 50%. So as soon as we get to 100,000 stars, we're going to take $500 and just go out into the community and bless somebody, right? And we're going to do that on video so that we can inspire others to go out and bless people as well. And that's kind of what we're doing now. So we've always done some offline events. We've done some outreach, but I'm excited now we can get some consistency. If people will continue to support us, then we can consistently go out and make that impact. But I do want to, before we get off of it, Grow Your Business for God's Sake. You went to the event. How was it after for you? What happened to you after Grow Your Business for God's Sake?
I told you, man. We literally, from that date until the end of the year, we tripled the amount of business that we had in for the whole year.
Yeah.
You said you need to double it, and we literally tripled.
I so love that, dude.
You said you need to double your income in the next, was it 90 days or 60 days?
90 days, yep.
Man, this dude is crazy. He doesn't just wake up 5 days a week at 5:30 a.m. He thinks somehow people are going to double. And then I started doing the math on a piece of paper, and I'm like, and I literally just reverse engineered it down to what do we got to close? How many calls do we got to make? All that stuff. And went old school, man. Pulled out the legal pad, the phone, and the computer, and went to work.
I love that, man.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So I do want to say this. For those people who want to support Glenn, and all of you should, go over to #Rise and Grind, hit that coin button, and here's the deal I'm going to make you, man. Up to $500, whatever people from this show donate today, I'll match it.
Dang.
So
right on, man. I appreciate that.
$500 gifts, hopefully, to somebody. You can bless 2 people.
I sure will.
So with
that, go drop some stars. Go drop some stars.
With that said, I want to ask you one last question to wrap this up, because I know you're big on this. What are the characteristics of success that you see? Like, what is the one thing that sticks out to you in all of the people that you interact with that is the common denominator? What is it?
The common denominator amongst all successful people that I interact with, that I spend time with, and that I read and that I study, the biggest common denominator I would say is their desire to make an impact in someone else's life. It's always about someone else. It's never about self. All successful people want to serve on some level, whether you see it or not sometimes from the outside. by their actions. It's ultimately they want to make an impact, right? They want to leave a lasting impact in other people's lives. And, I'm a firm believer. Those are like my 4 core value words: is rise, evolve, impact together, right? We rise every single day with intention and purpose, which I see successful people doing all over. They all rise with intention and purpose. We evolve. We continually evolve into the absolute best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. I see this across all successful people. They're constantly students. They're always studying. They're always trying to get better. We do so that we can go out and make an impact in people's lives, because that's what it's all about, like we talked about just a second ago. And ultimately, I throw in the word together as one of my core values, because I just know that I am built to bring people together. That's what I do. And I know that together we're a million times stronger. Like, human beings are awesome, because in most cases, like 1 + 1 = 2. But when it comes to humans, dude, 1 + 1 can equal like all kinds of crazy, right? Like me and my wife, 1 + 1 = 8. Right? And when it comes to our group, it's like 1 + 1 has now equaled 30,000 in a clothing line, and rescuing global, and helping people with cancer. Like, when people come together, it's tremendous what can happen. And so those are the core values. They've all been extracted from studying other leaders, other successful people. I apply them in my life every single day now. And it's like, hashtag rise and grind, bro.
The old African proverb, man: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Amen.
All right, Glenn Lundy. So I want you to pretend for a minute that you're on top of a mountain and all of civilization is looking up at you. Your beautiful wife, all your children, the Rise and Grind tribe, and even a whole bunch of people from other parts of the world who have never had the opportunity to even tune into your show before. And they're all cheering for you, man. Lundy, Lundy, Lundy. And you got 2 minutes to speak some truth to them and give them some wisdom and guidance that will change their life. What advice would you give them?
Well, that's an incredible question. Right? I love that question.
I'm glad I wrote that one, man. I'm glad I wrote that one.
That's incredible. I would tell them.
That one before?
I love it, man. That's the first time anybody's ever asked me that. I love it. I would tell them, if I only had 2 minutes, I would say, hey, friends, you are most comfortable in life right before death. And I don't know about you, but I'm not ready to die yet. And if you're not ready to die yet either, then you need to continue to seek things that make you uncomfortable, the things that stretch you, the things that grow you. You need to understand that there's a process of change, struggle, grow, succeed. It's how it always works. There is no growth without struggle. It doesn't exist. There will always be struggle after change, always. And success is always on the other side of growth. So if you know this process, you might be in a season of change right now. If so, if you're changing, know that struggle is coming. Embrace it. Be ready for it. Because that struggle, know that that's where your growth is going to come from. And when you grow, you can succeed. So stay uncomfortable, live your life, keep your head up, understand that you are 3-part, body, mind, and spirit. Make sure to feed all 3. And then I drop the mic and walk off.
Man, I knew that was going to be good, but that was real good, man. That you made me lose my train of thought on what I was going to say next. So I'm just going to close this thing out. That was good, dude. It is so true, man. It is so true that the only time that you experience true comfort is right before it's all over.
That's it.
And I'm not ready to go there yet. So I will say this before we finish out. I always say on Fridays, and you could give this advice to the dealership that you're advising today. Many people, dude, take half the day off on Friday, or maybe they just put half effort in on Friday. Why? Because it's Friday, and that's what most of the world does. So I always remind people on this show to end the week like a lion. not like a mouse. Go out like a lion. Don't go out like a mouse. Don't treat Friday like it's a Friday. So go hard on Fridays and make a difference today. Hold the door for people. Say thank you. Look somebody in the eye. Make them feel like they matter, because you just never know who might need to hear it at what moment, right? So I will end with this, man. You are one amazing human being, Glenn Lundy, and I am honored that you could share this morning with me. It is special for me that you were able to do this. I hope that we get to do many more of these things together. I appreciate you doing this for me, man, more than you know. God bless you. You deserve all the favor that God has to offer, man. I hope you forever, maybe you remember this from our interview, hope you forever continue to get the parking spaces that are right up front.
That's right.
I appreciate you, brother. And to everybody that tuned in this morning, thank you guys so much. Glenn, I will let you take us away here. Finish us off.
Oh, man, just go out there, have an amazing weekend. Incredible, over the top, fantastic, most incredible weekend you've ever had in your life. If you need more videos like this, just head on over to Brian's page, man. Brian's got a ton of them, 150 of them. You could binge watch it all weekend if you wanted to, or you can go to GlennLundy.com. We've also got some videos there that can keep you inspired, keep you motivated, keep you rocking and rolling as we go through this incredible season. Listen, my friends, you are a child of God, the God of the universe, the God that made everything, made you to be the absolute best version of yourself that you can possibly be. So go out there and make it happen.
Appreciate you guys. We'll drop all of Glenn's information in the comments here. Hashtag Rise and Grind is the group. Join it. Give him some stars, and I will be matching them today. You let me know how many there are, brother. I assume there'll be enough to get to 500, and I'll be right there hitting the button. So, but I'll transfer it straight to you, so I don't have to give Zuckerberg any money.
I feel you.
All right, brother. I appreciate you being here. Thank you to everybody here that viewed. You guys were awesome. Thank you for all the comments, all the love, and thank you for 150 episodes of support. It means the world to me. Have a great weekend, and I will see you again Monday morning right here, same place, same time, 7:30 a.m. on Morning Perspective. Love you guys.
My man.